Good morning, children. Welcome back. In our previous sessions, we had discussed different methods of separation such as hand picking, threshing, winnowing, sieving. In our last session, we discussed the method of sedimentation, decantation and filtration. Children, today we are going to discuss evaporation and condensation. Now children, you are familiar with what is evaporation and what is condensation because you have studied in class 5 also. What is evaporation, children? The process of conversion of water into water vapor on heating is called as evaporation. And the process of conversion of water vapor into liquid water on cooling is called as condensation. But now how these two processes are used as a process for method of separation, that we are going to study. Now children, you know that I will give you a common example of how do we obtain common salt. Okay, we know that sea water is salty. Okay, why it is salty? Because it contains salts. So how do we obtain salt from sea water? See, when sea water is allowed to stand in shallow pits, what happens, children? It receives sunlight continuously. So due to sunlight or due to the heat of the sunlight, the water evaporates continuously. Okay, the process of evaporation takes place. That means the water that is present in the shallow pits evaporates due to heat of the sun. And after few days, what happens? By the process of evaporation or through the process of evaporation, the water is completely evaporated and what is left behind is a mixture of solid salt. Now this mixture of solid salt is further purified to obtain common salt. Thus, by the method of evaporation, we receive common salt from salty water or sea water. Now condensation is a process, children. If you want a simple example, I can give you. If you have a water boiling in a vessel or milk has boiled just now, what you will do? You will switch off the gas and when you see vapors coming out, you just put a steel plate over it. Cool steel plate over it, and after few seconds, if you lift it up, you will find on the inner sides of the plate, you will find water droplets. We had kept dried steel plate. Where did this water droplets come from? These water droplets are nothing but when water vapor came in contact with the steel plate, cool steel plate, it changed into liquid water, and this process is called as condensation. Now one more example I will give you, children. Now the next topic is use of more than one method of separation. This means that we can use more than one method for separating different components from a mixture. Example I will give you. Take a mixture of salt and sand. We have already discussed earlier, children, that the method or the technique of hand picking is not at all possible. So what we will do, to a mixture of sand and salt, we will add water. While explaining sedimentation, I had explained you, children, how sand settles at the bottom by the process of sedimentation. So if you add water to a mixture of sand and salt, sand will settle at the bottom. Then what can you do? You can just pour the liquid by the method of decantation. Okay. Now what will be there in that water? And dissolved salt. Sand is already separated and what is left behind is salt dissolved in water. Then which process you will use or which technique you will use? You will evaporate the water. Okay, you will heat water. When you are heating water and salt together, what will happen? Water will evaporate. If you want back water, you can collect it by the method of condensation. If we don't need water, what will we do? We will let it evaporate. And what will be left behind? Salt will be left behind. Thus, how many methods we have used in this? We have used evaporation, condensation, then sedimentation, decantation. This means that we can use more than one method for separation of substances. Next is saturated solution, children. What is saturated solution? A solution is said to be saturated when no more amount of solute or no more amount of that substance can be dissolved in it. I will explain it to you with the help of example. What is saturated solution, children? A solution is said to be saturated when no more amount of that solute or substance cannot be dissolved in it. See, for example, children, I have taken here equal amount of water. Okay. I have taken equal amount of water. In one, I have added round about 2 to 3 spoons of salt and sugar. But to a certain level, salt has dissolved, children. Okay, now I am putting little more salt, but now salt is not dissolving in it. Okay. See, because water is less and salt is more. If I'll add water to it, then the salt will dissolve. Just I have taken less water in order to explain it to you fast. Now here also, children, I have taken less water and added about 4 to 5 spoons of sugar. So some sugar has dissolved, but some is still left behind. Okay. So what do we mean by this? What I am trying to explain is that water dissolves different substances in different amounts. I have taken equal quantity of water, but salt has dissolved round about 4 to 4.5 spoon, but sugar has dissolved only 3 spoons in it. This means that water dissolves different substances in different amounts when even the water quantity is same. I hope this is clear to you, children. I can increase the saturation limit of this mixture. How? By heating it. If I heat this, both the mixture, solution, I will say, salt solution and sugar solution, this sugar and salt that is left behind, it may dissolve. What I have done, I have increased the saturation limit by heating. But it will be only to a certain point. After that, even if I heat the solution and add more sugar and salt, it will not dissolve. Okay, children, I hope this is clear to you. And one more topic, I wanted to explain you this and first come back to this, children. When we were separating a mixture of sand and salt by the method of evaporation, decantation, sedimentation and condensation, what happened, children? Bujo and Paheli, that is given in your book, they found that they had added about 1 kg of salt, say, to sand. But when the salt that was obtained after evaporation, it was less in quantity. It did not weigh 1 kg. So where did that salt go? What happened, children? As we know that salt is soluble in water. So some amount of salt had dissolved in water, but some mixed with sand and remained with sand. So what happened? The whole quantity of salt we did not get back. Okay, children, here we come to the end of the explanation part of the lesson. In our next session, children, we will discuss exercises behind the text and solve the question answers. Thank you and God bless.